Well, good morning from Cottage Farmstead. If we haven't met before, I'm Rebecca. And this week here at the homestead continues very rainy and quite cold. It's gonna get even colder next week. So I am inside again today, but I did pick up our Azure Standard ordered on this rainy, cold week. I figured I could show you what we order from Azure Standard to get an idea of what pantry staples that we're not able to grow here on our homestead, but we do like to cook and bake with. And also take you down in our basement to show you how our food storage system works here. So if you've seen other Azure haul videos here on YouTube, you notice that we don't have quite as large of a bulk order as, say, a family with a lot of children. It's just Farmer Nathan and I here on the homestead. So we don't necessarily have to buy things in like 50-pound bags every couple months, since we are only 2 people and it takes us a little bit longer to go through our pantry. So first up here are some more Gamma lids. Last month, I ordered some more 5-gallon buckets for our long-term food storage, and they're out of stock of the screw-on lids. So this month I put the lids in our cart, and so I'll be able to add those to those buckets down in the basement later today. Then next up is buckwheat groats. Whole buckwheat is one of my favorite gluten-free grains to bake with. And even though I'm starting to experiment with some sourdough gluten-containing grains, I still really do love the flavor of the buckwheat and will probably continue incorporating this into many of my recipes as it gives it a nice nutty flavor. And then next up I have a 5-pound bag of soft white wheat. And like I mentioned, I am experimenting with long fermented sourdough with gluten-containing grains to see how my body's able to handle them. So I got a 5-pound bag of this soft white wheat. It is one that Azure grows themselves, and it's an open pollinated variety, so there's a chance I'll be more likely to be able to digest this one. It's not a GMO grain, it's not a hybridized grain. The gluten content in this is supposed to be a little bit more minimal and manageable, especially when it's fermented. Next up is a big jar of raw honey. Azure has one of the best prices on raw organic honey around there. If you're not super concerned about getting hyper local for allergy reasons, I haven't found a better price for honey anywhere else. We usually get their 3-pound glass jar, which I think is the equivalent to a quart of honey, and we have tried a lot of the different ones that they have. This time I got clover, they have a wildflower one, they have a berry one, they have orange blossom, manuka, they have all sorts of honey. This just happened to be on sale this past time that I was ordering, so I got it. And then for the non-edibles that I ordered this month, I got some more dishwasher powder. This has actually been the best dishwasher detergent that we have found here with our well water. Some of the other detergents we had tried were either super chemically, or the more natural ones were not being able to deal with the mineral content of our well water. This actually does an excellent job, and this giant bag will probably last us close to 6 months, because I think I ordered a bag this size about 6 months ago in the summer. And we still have a little ways to go from that bag, and then this is going to be my backup for when I do run out of the original one. Then Farmer Nathan, I love Dutch cocoa powder, and we've been getting it from a local Amish co-op for a while now because it's an excellent price, but it's not organic. So we were curious to try the Azure Market organic Dutch cocoa powder. I've been trying to get it ordered for the last couple months, but with all the holiday baking everyone's doing, they kept selling out on me, so I finally got my first package of it to try it out. If we do end up liking it, I'll probably order it in a much larger quantity so that we can have plenty of it on hand, as I'm quite the chocoholic. And speaking of chocolate, we buy a 5-pound bag of chocolate chips pretty much every month. Chocolate is something that Nathan and I both really love. I love putting it in my pancakes and muffins, and I use it to melt down into our hot chocolate. We make brownies from scratch with it. We also don't buy bars of chocolate or candies. We just eat some dark chocolate chips instead whenever we want a bite of chocolate. So next up is a 25-pound bag of einkorn grains. So like I mentioned earlier, I'm experimented with long fermented sourdough again. And so far, I've been able to digest the einkorn grain just fine. So last month I had bought a 5-pound bag and was experimenting with it. And since I wasn't having any adverse side effects, I decided to get a 25-pound bag so that I have plenty in the basement whenever I need to grind more for making some more bread or other baked goods. If you haven't heard of einkorn before, einkorn is the original wheat. It has never been hybridized. It's an ancient grain, and it's a great alternative for those of us that are gluten sensitive, not necessarily gluten intolerant, as a way to be able to eat a lot of our favorite baked goods without any of the side effects. And my last thing is a 25-pound bag of yellow popcorn. Popcorn is one of our favorite snacks, and we have a bowl of it several times a week. So we go through a fair amount of popcorn. This is also something that I was buying with the intention of some long-term food storage, as you can grind popcorn into grits or cornmeal, and you can also mix it with pickling lime and do nixtamalization in order to make masa flour. So it has a lot of purposes beyond just a delicious snack. Now that we've had a look at what I ordered this month, I will take you down into our basement to show you how we store our bulk foods in our pantry. Well, welcome to our basement. This area is still a work in progress, as we are still working on completing our farmhouse. These shelves are actually fairly new. Farmer Nathan built them for me about a month ago now, and I am loving the ability to organize our food storage so much better than before. Previously, they were on some black metal shelves behind you there, and everything was crammed in there, all cattywampus, and it was disorganized. Nathan would put some things away in one spot, I put things away in a different spot, and it was getting pretty messy over there. We still have a few things we need to get off of those shelves before we repeat building shelves like these over on that wall. But for now, we are loving having this beautiful storage over here. So over the past year, we've been gradually building our backlog here. So every month, I typically buy a 25-pound bag of something that we want to store in bulk from Azure Standard, or we set aside some extra money to buy, say, salt or vinegar from the grocery store, so that we can have a few extra on hand each time that we go to the grocery store. So it's not an overwhelming one-time huge expense. It just trickles out of the budget every month and slowly builds up to what you see here. So down here in our 5-gallon buckets are our long-term food storage. The things that we determined that we wanted to have in our long-term food storage are things like our proteins, starches, vinegars, our salts, and our cooking fats, and some of our sweeteners. As much as Farmer Nathan and I enjoy things like chocolate and coffee and other specialty things like almond flour, tapioca starch, none of those things are required for sustenance. We just wanted to have extra things on hand that would allow us to supplement our diet from our garden, where we're growing a lot of vegetables and fruits, and also have things on hand like our salts and vinegars to allow us to preserve the harvest if we needed to in some sort of emergency scenario. So using this working pantry system, I have a 5-pound bag of whatever pantry staple I have up on the shelf here. So say it's black beans or chickpeas like I have here. When I get low on that and I'm going into my food bucket, I will pull out another 5-pound bag of the pantry item and put it up on the shelf. And then I will make a note that in my next order or the next time I'm at the grocery store, I need to get 5 more pounds of that item. This enables me to rotate through all of our long-term food stores pretty regularly, but also making sure that I still have 20 to 25 pounds of any of the things that I want to keep in long-term storage. We determined that this was a nice, simple, fairly mindless, easy way to not only rotate through our pantry stores without worries of things going rancid or stale, but also eliminate some of the pressure of trying to calculate how many pounds precisely I need of every item in order to survive 6 months, and trying to use some of the online prepper calculators to turn that down to the pounds and ounces. We didn't want to live with that sort of stress. We're not doing this out of any sense of fear, but more of prudence, as we all learned in 2020 that things do disappear from the shelves in times of panic, and we wanted to have some stores on hand in order to supplement what we're able to raise here on our homestead. Well, I hope you found this video helpful in seeing how we store long-term food as well as our working pantry. If you'd like to see more Azure Standard haul videos, please comment down below, as I'm happy to share what we order each month. It does vary somewhat depending on the season and what I need added back into our storage. So if you're curious about what we order every month, just let me know down in the comments, and I'm happy to continue sharing. With that, I'll catch you next time.